aka Rita Repulsa. Oh,
Hi, guys.
Hey.
Hi, guys. Got my mask on.
And one of her favorite generals, Mr. Kerrigan Mahan, the voice of Goldar.
This is my first rodeo. Hi, guys. This is a gas.
Good morning. Good morning. Coming up next from Power Rangers Lightspeed Rescue, Miss Diane Salinger, the voice of Queen Banshira.
Hello, darlings. How are you?
Oh, man, my childhood is flaming right now. Coming up next from Time Force, Power Rangers' first soap opera, Mr. Vernon Wells, a.k.a. Rancic.
Back again.
The Queen Pirate herself, Miss Hilary Shepard, a.k.a. Diva Talks.
Hello. Team Diva Talks. Woo!
Hello. All right. Master Org, Mr. Ilia Volok from Power Rangers Wild Force.
I will destroy you!
One of our
favorite,
Miss Astronomer, Miss Melody Perkins.
Hi. Hey, everyone. I'm going to save my voiceover for now.
And the Ooze Master himself, the man that shocked fear in the world of children in the year 1995, including me, who had nightmares, Mr. Paul Freeman, a.k.a. Ivan Ooze.
I smell teenagers.
How you guys doing today?
Good.
Wonderful.
Okay.
Awesome.
Fine. Thank you.
Pretty good.
It is so amazing.
Hi, Vernon. We didn't say hello.
How are you, Paul?
Good.
It's awesome. It's so amazing to get the chance to absolutely talk to you guys and for the people at home who are watching, because this is how we have to do Comic-Cons, and Wizard World has done an amazing job of making sure that the art and style of Comic-Cons and people are still being able to interact with their favorite guests and actors and all that and whatnot. So the first thing I want to ask is, how have you guys been doing at home? You know, we've been at home for a while. Anybody, how you guys been doing at home?
Wonderfully.
Yeah.
I live at the top of a mountain in Topanga Canyon, and my nearest neighbors are squirrels and rabbits and snakes and a toad underneath my stoop. And I'm thrilled. I feed them every day. It's been great.
This sounds like an episode of Snow White, and I love it. Anybody else? How you guys been doing at home?
I would say, just like Diane suggested, Topanga. I'm in Morro Bay, so I'm about 1,000 feet from the beach with nobody on it at all. It's completely empty. And between that and the tennis courts down the way, which I am playing a lot of tennis, and driving my convertible Jag down the Highway 1, I got no problems here.
No complaints at all.
I'm in Santa Monica, and that's a nice place to be too. Of course, any kind of sniffle, I wonder, that's always in the mix. And I've got my COVID-19, which is the weight gain from eating at home all the time and finding new recipes. So it's on my butt. Anyway, that's enough.
I think that is the thing that everybody has found. Everybody is being forced to find new recipes to cook. But I digress on that. One of the good things about Power Rangers, and I am what you would call a Power Rangers super fan. I've been watching Power Rangers. I just turned 30, so I'm just as old as Power Rangers, and it's been a part of my life. So to be able to do things like this, you could have never told me, the 5-year-old, that I would be in this position. But you got Power Rangers. You got 5 teenagers with attitude, multicolored costumes. They would not be what they are without villains. So I want to ask you guys, why are villains important to Power Rangers?
Well, as an actor, villains are the most fun to play. They're the most exciting, and they're the most memorable to watch in television, movies, and theater. It's who you remember.
I was, the day I found out I got the part of Diva Talks, I found out I was pregnant. So I had to wear a corset and a cape and high heels. So I was pissed off anyway. So it was the great way to scream and yell at people and get paid for it.
So you channel that anger into your role.
Yeah, I always say it's great for going through menopause.
I didn't know, nobody knew Goldar was going to be much of a part. So about 16 shows in, Tony Oliver, the producer, called me and said, you better figure out what you're doing with that voice, because he's a big part. So that's why people ask me all the time, what's the bit with the voice? Did somebody else do it originally? And I wasn't really committing to it because I only had, not couple lines, maybe if that, and then it got big. So I went down in my basement and figured out how to make this voice thing work for a recording of sometimes up to an hour. But that wasn't your question. I digress. Villains are imperative. I mean, in any story, really, there's usually there's the good and the bad, and that creates the conflict. And they're way more fun than playing good guys. I mean, way more fun.
Yeah, I remember I was in Japan at a convention, and they were interviewing me about Power Rangers. And I said, yeah, I'm really one of the few lucky ones in Power Rangers, because I got to kill a ranger, and it's never happened before. And the guy doing the interview looked at me and he went,
Nice for you.
"Yes." And he went, "Oh, we kill one a week." Who wants to be the bad guy? Julie.
So looking at the pantheon that Power Rangers has spanned, it was 25 years. Who would have thought that it would still be going on from its original Mighty Morphin series all the way up now to Beast Morphers that just ended and coming out next with another one, the Dino Fury. Did you all think, even after your position ended, that this would continue on as long as it had?
No.
No.
No. If somebody had pulled me aside when I was recording this and told me what is going on here,
right?
I want the drugs they're on.
I remember seeing the pilot with my family in New York at the time. My son was, 5. And my family looked at me kind of like sympathetically and said, well, we're glad you had some work. This is weird. Nobody thought it was, the adults couldn't get it, but my son was like, like they were.
Barbara, we weren't getting it at the time. We were
recording
it and going on to the next job. We weren't paying any attention to this until the Hollywood 101 freeway was shut down. No cars were moving.
Universal
show, and we realized, I think this show's pretty big.
Right.
Yeah.
And the toys, Bandai and the toys.
And my nephew and his best friend Dave. My nephew is Clayton. His best friend Dave. They had Power Rangers costumes, and they had different colors. It's a huge thing.
Yeah,
I don't think I realized until I started doing conventions how amazing the Enterprise is. I had no idea when I was actually filming it what it was going to mean for my life and what it was going to signify. I mean, I feel like it's the gift that keeps on giving for me. Every time we get to interact with our fans, I'm like, it just fills me up. So thank you for doing stuff like this.
Definitely.
I know that was the same with me. I kept getting asked to go to conventions, and I'm like, no, I'm just going to sit there. No one knows who I am. I'm not. It's so embarrassing. So I tried one, and I couldn't believe it. I mean, the lines out the door, all the fans. I was shocked. It was probably 15 years later or something, or 10 that I finally went to a convention, and I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, I turned them down too in the beginning because it didn't make sense.
I want to give a shout out to Netflix too.
Definitely.
I really am. I want to.
Netflix, thank you.
Yeah.
I'd like
I want to write Netflix and really, I mean, the fact that this has been running from its inception and they've left it on, it's still can see the entire show from the beginning. that I think has a lot to do with why we're all still here, and I hope they keep it going. I'm gonna write
Children
them.
of the
We all
children,
should write them.
the children.
You're absolutely right, because when they said we're going to drop every last Power Ranger season on Netflix, and I'm like, you gonna do what? And they was like, no, Netflix made a big post, and all Power Rangers are now Netflix. So now I have 5-year-old cousins that are watching the original series, and I'm sitting down with them just like this, like, yeah. So it's and the toys them. I knew Power Rangers was big when they brought toys to McDonald's, because every kid in my generation wanted a Happy Meal, and that was the thing. So I had my mom going all around the city to get every last Power Ranger toy and Megazord that came out with the movie. So that's when things get pushed into other mediums and brands, and now you're seeing sheets, and you're seeing pillowcases, and you're seeing bathroom cutties, and all type of stuff. What were you going to say, Mr.
Sandwich bags.
Sandwich bags, lunch boxes. So that's
I got so much of that stuff with my character on it. It's crazy.
Well, I had to wait 20 years to get an action figure as Rita, so.
Same.
And we're glad that you have one.
Yay.
Now,
it's all unknown territory for me, because Power Rangers wasn't at all big in Europe before we did the movie, and it wasn't big after the movie either. And everything went very quiet. I didn't expect any further life from it. And then, I don't know, what, 15, 20 years later, suddenly there's this renaissance, and we're all getting a wonderful pension from it. Well, more or less wonderful,
Yes, a pension, so to speak. And I want to throw out too to the fans that Paul and Kerrigan never met until a Comic-Con.
That's right, me either.
We never saw each other. We never laid eyes on each other. We never spoke to each other throughout the entire process of.
I was pretty much like that as Diva Talks, because I was in my submarine by myself. I mean, interact with anybody, even on the TV show, because I was shooting something else at the same time, and I was pregnant, and Carol played Diva Talks for a while. When I came back, I shot all my stuff like in 2 days, like, shooting the camera this way, then that way, and I never interacted with anybody else. I mean,
and what you're saying, Hilary, is exactly the same thing with the voiceover. We were passing ships in the night. I mean, the friendships I made with the Power Rangers didn't really occur. We were, hi, how you doing? How you doing? Barely spoke to each other. I mean, they're coming out of the booth, and I'm going into the booth, and see you around. What was his name again?
Yeah. And Paul, I met you in a limo to a convention. I knew you as Raiders, and I had told you that Harrison Ford crashed down the block from me in the, with his plane that day. And that's how we talked. And then I knew I'd made the connection that you were Ivan Ooze, and that we worked together on this, but I didn't think of you. I mean, I thought of you for Raiders.
Well, I guess because we were filming in Sydney, that they must have been using Australian stand-ins for your characters, obviously.
Yes.
Because neither of you were there.
No, we were the voices.
Yeah.
Nope. Never saw hide nor hair. In fact, there's a story behind all of that, but I don't think it's probably politically correct to launch into what happened with our characters, but we fixed it with Chaim. He got it very clear that the fans want to hear the original voices. There was a little hiccup in there. It was pretty. It was getting pretty ugly with Barbara. All of the voiceover, all of us. It was.
But it worked out.
Situation, but we fixed it. We fixed him. We fixed it.
Mr. Volok, I want to ask you a question. What do you think makes a great villain? Because you were in a series where Power Rangers felt honestly like a soap opera, like it was more dramatic. It was, the writing style was, almost operatic in a sense. So what do you think makes a great villain?
I think I approach it as from the actor's point of view, because you look always when you play a bad guy, you try to find what's good about him. Mm-hmm. You try to find a vulnerability, you try to find kindness. because it was already written as a bad guy. So if you play cliche of a bad guy, there's nowhere to go. So that's what's interesting for me. And if you have the foundation, then the rest will take care of itself, because that's why I think, I was getting, by the way, I started realizing that this show is really big when I got, a couple of letters, one from Spain, when they were asking, Master Org, where is your headquarters? So I realized not necessarily from the paycheck that the show was big, but from the amount of fan mail and all that stuff. But coming back to the the playing the bad guy, it's the danger always when you, I guess, and depending on the script how it's written, but the danger is in playing a bad guy always can be in approaching it as a just typical stereotypical bad guy. But you have to look for, and that particular writing for that season had that the backstory of the Master Org when he was a human, and that helped. But overall, it was a great experience. I've never had to do anything like that. Even since then, that character was pretty unique.
Definitely. Same question for Ms. Melody.
Oh, what? Sorry. I was multitasking. I'm so sorry. What was the question? What was it like to be?
What do you think makes a great villain? Because you had a significant part, and just like Mr. Volok just said, the human aspect. Of course, your brother in the series was the Red Ranger, and he was always trying to tap into you and be like, "No, you're my sister. You're my." After a while, they got aggravating to me. But as a child, it's like, okay, we know that's your sister. What are you gonna do about it? But for you, what do you think makes a great great villain? I'm sorry.
Well, I feel like when I first started playing Astronema, I was just trying to keep up. Like that was my main goal, was just to be able to act through the day. I feel like I had really big shoes to fill with Hilary, Diva Talks, Rita. It was like, oh my God. And my first scene was with all of these monsters and villains, and it was so intimidating. But I would say in hindsight, it takes sort of internal conflict, maybe. Like something else happening. I don't know. You kind of have to have your angle, I think. But for Astronema, it was definitely the choice between being good and evil, and being able to see that through in the following season was just awesome. So
absolutely, we definitely want to thank Jeffrey Chim for that question. Daniel Walters wants to ask, how has your reaction been to fans? I know some of you answered this already. Been to fans still being so drawn to and fans of some of the villainous roles that you played, because the show is called Power Rangers, not villains. Villains are a part of the Power Rangers. So like you all were saying, like people love the villains. Like Miss Shepard said, I didn't know people knew who I was or still cared about my character. You'd be more shocked than surprised that some people really worship the villains more than the Power Rangers. So for some of you guys, how has that reaction been?
Great.
Well, it's why we're still all here, isn't it? Because the people really responded to whatever magic it was we were conjuring up all those years ago.
Definitely.
Oh, well said.
You're all much more recent than I am. But,
another thing,
I get some crazy questions like, how do you get the magic wand back?
Right.
It's like they're still so like in the fantasy of it. It's like I said, that's how it's written. That's the script. I get it back.
Well,
when I was playing Diva Talks, I just was completely thrilled. I didn't feel like I was evil at all. Like a real evil person wouldn't feel that way. You just think you're doing the greatest thing. And I just let my ego go wild, and I didn't even think about that. But then when fans, I felt really bad when little kids would come up to me and go, "Why were you so mean? Why did you just
Yeah, the nightmares that I've been told over the years, the horrible, horrible nightmares that I was responsible for. And I'm sure I'm responsible for, you know, certain kids going into therapy over.
Absolutely. I'm not gonna lie to you.
But I'd like to believe I brought more joy. That's what seems to be the overall attitude at the tables, you know. And it's, for me, to this moment, still surreal. I mean, it's as surreal for us, I think, sometimes as it is for, you know, when their hands are, you know, I mean, they're nervous, and I understand that, and I really enjoy being at one with the fan, settling them down and having fun and telling them stories. And I see that the joy that comes from that, for me, is every bit as much as it is for them.
Yeah.
I can say to Miss Barbara, Mr. Kerrigan, I've seen you guys in Pensacola at a convention.
I remember that.
You know, they are in the room because you can hear their
It's
character
so damn
voices
loud. So
from
obnoxious.
the table. You can hear you can walk in the other side of the actors room and you can hear Rita and Goldar from the other side of the room, and you're like, I'm going that way. I'm going to see what's going on over
I
there.
remember George Takei saying, "Would you shut that woman up?
Yeah.
I can't hear." And it was embarrassing, but I apologized. I had to do what I have to do.
I have had a lot of fun together at the cons.
Yeah.
The fans love it. The fans
I
love
did
it.
have a little kid back in early days cry, and then I realized that voice, I have to monitor that voice, and I met him like 20 years later. And he said,
wow.
"You made me cry," and I remember it was at a Target. It was another kind of I don't know what we were doing.
We were doing a fundraiser.
Fundraiser, yeah.
A children's, you know, one of those really, really good
And
fundraiser things.
so for Make-A-Wish, I think it was.
Yeah, Make-A-Wish. Yeah, and Robert was there, and the three of us were there doing our thing. You
But
made a kid cry
he
at that?
told me I made him cry, and then I apologized, and I did the voice, and he pretended to cry again.
Yeah.
It was really cute.
I struggle a little with the writing sometimes with Goldar. You know, I conjured every emotion I possibly could with what had a tendency to be a very one-note character. So I brought in everything I could: frustration, anger, sadness, you know, what horrible childhood Goldar, I must have had, and wanting so much to try to please her, but then being frustrated. So I think because I maybe brought in some extra elements as opposed to just rah, because he could really be almost, it's like, you know, what do you do with this guy? And Magna Defender juxtaposed was a multi-note anti-hero and a much more demanding and fun and beautifully written role. It was only 9 episodes, maybe 11. But it was one of some of the best. Lost Galaxy arc with Magna Defender, before I handed it over to Mike, the on-camera Magna Defender. But that was some serious writing, and I didn't just walk in, jump in behind the mic, as I did with Goldar. You know, there wasn't a lot. I mean, it was, I wouldn't say I walked through it, but it was not as demanding as Magna by any stretch. I mean, we really took some time to study the screen and what's happening, and taking a minute with the script. And anyway, that was one of the most fun voiceover and demanding voiceover roles I ever did, which he's not anywhere near as famous as Goldar, but it's amazing the amount of people that come up to the table and can't believe I was Magna, because they could not have been more different. I mean, completely, nothing to do with each other in character or vocally. I mean, Magna kind of was a Clint Eastwood base. Anyway, just a little sidebars.
Mr. Vernon, you played in another great series. You were Rancic, and we've been one of the things we talk about is that that Mr. Volok brought up was that human to villain interaction and how that parallels itself. So what was it like being the character of Rancic and looking at his beginning and all the way to his end?
I was exceptionally lucky because number one, we had, once again, as Kerrigan said, we had great writing on that series. And it got better when they figured out that I could actually act. So they started making my life miserable. But I think I had an advantage with the fact that the character really wasn't in the series when it was started. It was actually my daughter was the villain, and they decided to go in another direction and put a male villain in. And that's where my character came from. But they gave me this amazing relationship with my daughter. So the character was more human than he was evil. And so the kids sort of come into that. But of course, he had his moments, and it became this whole thing between me and the Pink Ranger. I mean, every time I saw her, I kicked her butt. It was kind of fun through the whole series. So I think from the perspective of putting a villain together, I think in that series, he was someone who came here to get away from where he was, which was the Power Rangers always foiling everything he wanted to do, to try to become master of the universe, if you want to put it that way.
Right.
He wasn't out there being mean and rotten. He let all of his monsters go and do that. He was more human than anything. I mean, his relationship with his daughter, his relationship with the Rangers when he saw them. And the funny thing is that at the end, when they turned me good, they had a big show that they did over in New Zealand, a big film, which had some of the villains and and I kind of got in contact with them and said, are you going to take me over for it? They said, well, no, you're not a villain. You're a good guy now. Ruined my whole bloody career. To being the good guy of like, come on, give me a break here.
Yeah, I stopped working when Rita became good.
Yeah, it's funny.
I never thought of that. I became good for a second. Yeah, and then I was gone.
How to keep that continuity going. We got a question from Darth Plagueis the Wise. Said, what do you consider the most ridiculous or funniest stunt or line that you had to deliver? I already know this is going to be a good question because you guys had some of the craziest lines and things that you had to say, and even some of the catchphrases that you guys had. Anybody, what were some of the favorite lines or things that you had to do?
Well, for me, it was great because when I first did the second movie, and they just let me go wild. I had been in the Groundlings doing comedy improv and all that, and they just let me say whatever came to my head. And I got to talk to the prop department. I said, I want to make her really vain. These things were not in the script. So like make me some makeup stuff, and I want to read like Space Vogue, and I think that got cut out. But so that was just thrilling for me because whatever came into my head, I would just let it fly. And one of them was Viva La Diva, which became like a huge thing. And now there's some housewife from New York who just wrote a song called Viva La Diva. I'm going to sue her.
Anybody else?
I think
I feel like we're all very familiar with saying destroy them. Like I think I said destroy them probably 400 times.
Same,
I loved it.
That's right.
I liked calling Robert what was it, a radiator face or something, shut up, whatever, some car part. And also, I have such a headache was a good one.
Right.
There were so many.
So you think she's pretty cute too, huh? And I said that to Paul about the Pink Ranger.
Barbara, I woke you up, did a long distance call.
Oh, that was great.
About time change. Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah, the phone call between us. I love that. I also got paid for a little part, and that was a great thing too.
Wow.
I think mine was when we did the episode with my daughter was in love with the Green Ranger. And I spent the whole episode going, don't touch the Green Ranger. The whole episode. It was every time something, don't touch the Green Ranger. Because my daughter was in love with him. It's like, good God.
Wow, yeah, that I will destroy you. That's the one. Yeah.
Now, when it comes to iconic lines for me, Mr. Freeman, man, the Power Rangers, where's my autograph book? Or all the things I've missed, the French Inquisition, the whole just phrasing and line throughout that movie when you were destroying the command center. That was you set the tone in a sense when it came to phrases, because you were hilarious. You were supposed to be a villain, but you were hilarious that whole movie. It was just all the quips and the quick-wittedness of it all. What was some of your favorite lines?
Well, thanks for saying that, but I can't take any credit for it. It was the script, and the script, Ivan's part was incredibly funny and very well written. In fact, the first draft I got, which I had to tape an audition in London and send it to Australia, was even funnier because he was a real shapeshifter. At one point he became a woman, another point he became black. Whatever you liked, he could do it. Finally, I think that just became too complicated to include in the movie, and it was cut down a bit, pared down. But a lot of those funny lines were still there, so I can't take any credit for that. I take a little credit for the fact that they allowed me to go in any direction I want. I really didn't have anybody controlling it. It was rather like Hilary said, as long as you provided something, they were very happy to go along with it.
Yeah, I agree. That was great. I love that.
And a lot of the stuff, of course, not being American, not ever having seen the Power Rangers, I didn't understand half the gags anyway. So I had to sort of have some attitude and make it up. I mean, I'd never seen the Brady Bunch reunion. Know what he meant. So
what about you, Ms. Diane?
When I got out of the egg, having a Charlie horse, I had to be told what that was, you know.
Foreigner.
Where did the pig come from? I never, all these years, I have no idea where
that was an added villain for I think just for the movie, because he was never in any other thing outside of the movie or a TV show.
Yeah, I wish they would have kept the others.
Never understood that, and why the other two weren't included.
Not Bulk and Skull.
No,
my guys.
Spot and Babu.
Spot and Babu.
Yeah, definitely. Miss Diane, do you have any famous lines that you can remember?
My son. I was obsessed with my son. That's about it.
I wanted to add something to what Ilia had talked about villains. I think that two things, actually. The thing about villains is that I loved what Ilia said, because George R.R. Martin from Game of Thrones, I've been reading his interviews because I'm writing a novel, and he said, that he wanted to make sure that every character in Game of Thrones was good and bad. Everybody is gray, varying shades of gray. And I think that's true, that you have to find, and other people were saying too about villains, that you have to find what's good in them, what you love. Hitler did not think of himself as a villain.
Right.
He thought he was saving Germany, that's what he thought. He thought he was saving Germany. He was a crusader.
As well as many other people.
Yes, I think.
Yeah, who shall, those who shall not be named.
Yeah.
And the other thing is that with villains, they've had their power taken away and they want to get their power back. I think that seems, I know that's how I approach villains, and I play a lot of villains. They're my favorite roles. And it's always, how do I, Diane, get my power back in this situation?
It's usually a person with arrested development, narcissism, some childhood trauma. And you have to bring that into your character. I mean, Rita started off screaming, and she does scream, but then when Lord Zed showed up, the kids, the parents thought he was a little too edgy and dark, and they brought Rita back, which was great. And then we played on the comedy. It was sort of Lucy and Ricky from I Love Lucy.
Definitely.
Zeddy, so there was not just the dark, I want to conquer the world. She was a child, basically, that needed, to have things. I gotta consume.
Right.
And I will say that was a big change
Right.
for somebody watching the show at that time. From it got it, and I went back and watched like a year or two ago. I was like, wait, this was dark. This was not right. In the like,
Yeah,
when Sid came
it
in,
got a
it
little
was-
too dark and not as entertain in a way, not so good for kids,
definitely. Now,
I
one,
love doing the playoff with Robert. I love having that kind of banter with him.
There was
and
a
I got a
strange
chance.
darkness about the movie too, wasn't there? In that Ivan was trying at one point to do a sort of Pied Piper of Hamelin thing,
Yeah.
and just separate all the kids from the parents. And I think the end of the plot was that he was going to drive all the parents over a cliff,
Yeah,
which was pretty nasty, really.
that was
Maybe a little bit.
hypnotize all the
Excessive.
parents, and they're literally walking in single file, mass crowd, walking up. I'm like, what is going on here? Especially at 5 years old, like this not good. This is not
It's
good.
funny if you think back at the time that the series came in for an enormous amount of criticism at the time from the sort of martial arts thing.
Mhm.
The
Exactly.
thing about kicking particularly was picked on by the media, saying it's very dangerous and it's teaching children to be aggressive and violent.
Which
Whilst
wasn't actually.
ignoring the fact that, what I was trying to do was separate children from their parents and kill all the parents.
Okay.
That day in the life.
My son's preschool would not let me give as a gift for the auction the toys that I had been given to give to the school because
Wow.
the head of the school believed that it was a dangerous show with violence. And I kept saying, the kids are fighting the putties. They're not fighting each other. My son would have all these parties and the kids would be dressed as Power Rangers, kicking the air because they weren't fighting the other Power Rangers. Nobody wanted to be a putty. So they were, and I kept arguing, but she wouldn't take the toys for the auction, which was
It became
silly.
ridiculous to the point. I mean, it's good versus evil. We can go back and look at, Warner Brothers cartoons from when we were growing up.
Right.
And I always came back losing. I was always the loser. The Power Rangers always,
Yeah.
beat me. So,
Yeah.
I mean, this is where this politically correct crap really can get stupid.
To a
Definitely.
point.
I remember when I was like 6 months pregnant when we shot that huge scene where we were all going to fight. And I was really worried. And they're like, you're not going to fight. Don't worry about it. You're just going to stand there and yell. I didn't ever hit anybody or kick anyone. I just screamed a lot, and ordered people about. But it was always against, like you said, putties or whatever. It wasn't like,
Yeah, it wasn't each other.
yeah.
There's a great book, The Uses of, I think it's called The Uses, it's Bettelheim, about the uses of fairy tales. And, in it, he talks about why it's important to have the villains is because children have a lot of obstacles to overcome and they have a lot of nightmares. And it's showing how the hero overcomes the villains because they have to do this on an unconscious and also in the physical world too. That kids have a lot to contend with, and it's important to show how they do that. How you overcome a villain because that's what they have to do.
Yeah.
We got a question here from Miss Melody. You were a ranger and a villain too. Which do you prefer?
Oh, definitely the villain. I feel like Corone was so much who I am. I mean, it was just kind of like, I hate to say it, it's like bad acting, but I was just playing myself pretty much, like walking into work and like doing me. But as astronomer, that was a huge stretch. So way more fun, way more crazy.
And that leads me to another question that I had. If you all played villains, but if you could be a Power Ranger, what color would you be?
Black.
Okay.
Well, I'd have to be purple.
There is a Purple Ranger. There is a Purple Ranger.
I'd be blue.
Red.
Purple or red?
I think I'd say gold.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'd be a rainbow.
Yay.
that does exist in Japan. So just to
Oh,
let you know
cool.
that exists.
That's so cool.
It's so funny because it's the opposite with me with Melody. Whenever I have to play like a good normal character, it's so hard for me.
Yeah, yeah, that's hard too. It's yeah. The furthest thing.
Don't put yourself down, Melody. That's hard to be like a self-dresser yourself. I'm way better at being characters.
Yeah.
Mr. Volok, what color would you be?
I would probably be red because I'm from the former Soviet Union.
We got another question from Robosaurus Rex who says, hello all, any word what happened to your original villain or monster costumes? And are there any pieces that you kept as a memento? This question is for everybody except for Kerrigan, because we see his whole suit in the background.
Oh, that's actually, that's not the original.
It's not? Okay.
No,
okay.
No, it is not. That was the guy who's my friend. He had it built in Indonesia, and he played Goldar in the videos that I shot, the Goldar and Me videos that you can see on my YouTube. Ampersand, not the A-N-D, but Goldar and Me. And he dressed up in that thing, and then he finally decided enough was enough. I'm done. I'm not doing it anymore, and I bought it from him. So the original head I saw at Power Morphicon in glass. I never laid eyes on it.
For those that don't know, I didn't wear the costume. I was the voice of Rita, all the Ritas. But I did wear it once when they were deciding whether to go with Rita as me fully, or they ended up going with Carla Parrott.
Yeah.
Which was a smart move. And I wore it once. It was so damn heavy. I'm so glad I only had it on once, and there's no way I'm going to get a part of that. But maybe Carla has something from it, but I don't think she does either. I think she's such a talented sewer and costumer herself. She made her own costume of Rita's costume.
Wow.
So, I have one of the
Vernon,
rather like Vernon's head. But I had a I seem to be repeating. Is there something wrong?
Yeah.
Anyway, I have one of the original false heads that they made the head from. And for a time, I kept a couple of the skin pieces. There were about 5 separate pieces making up the face. And for some reason, I think I kept the last one for a while, a couple of the patches. But over the years, it disintegrated. So one of these plaster heads is lying around here somewhere. And every now and then we say, we must find that. I've got a couple of them from other movies as well. So somewhere in this house, there are some heads of me, but I've no idea where.
Everybody's bringing out toys of
But there's another one that a fan has that I wore in the movie. This was my practice mask. It was much more malleable. And there's a stiffer one that someone else has. But I went years later to the special effects place, and they had it on their shelf, and I was like, can I have it? So I was really glad to get that, but at the time I didn't get any.
Now, Mr. Freeman said something that got me thinking. Power Rangers, they just put on this, the actors, they put on these, or the stunt people, they put on this, the skin tight costumes and the spandex. But for the people who played live parts, the makeup, how was the makeup? I'm gonna start with Miss Melody.
Oh my gosh. I remember showing up, I think it was my earliest call time was probably 4 a.m. or something like that, which at the time was undoable. It was crazy. It was hard. I feel like the makeup and then the hair when you're fighting, it's like getting caught in it's just a whole operation. I was just thinking about that because Astronoma's hair was just it was a lot. There was a lot going on. And the costume was, it was just it wasn't comfortable, but it was cool.
Mr. Volok, what about you? Because you had an elaborate costume.
Yeah. I had I had a third eye. But they actually hired me because in reality I had a third eye. I mean, I got rid of it. I just went on the right diet and I got rid of it.
What is
No.
that? Carrots?
Yeah. So no, the makeup was we would get there probably like 5 a.m. For me, and it would take, depending, at least an hour to get in, and it's but it wasn't bad. I remember when they switched my wig to a longer hair, and we were shooting on the stage in Valencia, and I remember the feeling because the suit is very heavy and made out of sway. I started suffocating. I remember that was like I wanted to take over that the whole headgear, but before I was able to, but when they put the new one with the long hair, I couldn't take it out because it was the way it was fixed. So that was pretty, difficult. And I remember we were shooting in Palmdale with like 105 degrees, and all that gear. That was also not easy, but it's a great memories though.
Definitely.
We got our first makeup session in Sydney when the guy, I've forgotten his name, Warren, was trying the makeup on. It took 7.5 hours to put it on the first time. So that was all day. We got it down to 4.5 hours. So
Wow.
Melody, I beat you, I'm afraid. I had to be in the chair at 3:30 every morning.
Oh,
so
wow.
they could start at 8. And then an hour and a half at the end of the day when the whole thing was taken off. That was helpful.
In there at home?
At the end of the day, a few cigarettes and a long straw going into a barrel of Guinness down by the side.
I had no idea. I would just come in and I played a puppet. I had no idea that you guys had this kind of stress with all this makeup. It was just so separate from everything. Wow.
The craziest thing with me is I have a mask. It's covering, half of my face, but they would do full makeup on me. Even my eye that was underneath the mask, they would always black it out. And I always had glitter to the point that I think 2 years after I did the part, I'd still find like pieces of glitter on it. And my baby was always covered in glitter because I was always breastfeeding her, carrying her to the set. She just had glitter everywhere. There was just no way to. I think she still has some.
Yeah, I was in at about 5, I think. But mine, when they first started doing my makeup, it took about 2.5, nearly 3 hours. By the end of the series, they had it down to 27 minutes.
Yeah.
They could get me in and get me out, but the worst thing was the costume. It weighed about 100 pounds. And it had 25 different
Unbelievable.
clips on it that had to be done up, and it took 2 people to put it on me, and then it took 2 people to get it off so I could go to the toilet. And boy, they hated me because
I kept saying,
Wow.
don't villains have another outfit? Do I have a lounge set, pajamas, something? Wear the same outfit every day, morning, night.
So now we have an understanding of why there were you didn't see Rancic run a lot. The Power Rangers just came to him and he just swung the sword standing in one place.
Vernon, didn't you get hurt in that costume?
Yeah, the first day I dislocated my knee.
Yeah.
And I wasn't walking around doing anything for about the first 2 episodes. I was very immobile.
Oh.
Most definitely.
It's fine. I figured out, don't jump, dumbass. It hurts.
The makeup and the costumes, my hat's off to y'all. My claustrophobia would not, I really would not be able to do any of that. I couldn't do it.
Oh, and the poor stunt people. I remember looking out, we were in Valencia, it was like 105, and I'm addressing the troops, and then I just see that like 5 people just faint,
Yeah, it was so hot there.
I was like, man down. Yeah, that was really hard for them.
Microphone, please.
We want to make sure that the fans at home don't forget that are watching on Twitch, Facebook, and YouTube that you still have time to purchase those additional paid exclusive experiences like one-on-one private chats, autographs, and custom video recorded messages at wizardworldvirtual.com. I want to end asking each of you, because at the end of the day, you guys are still professionals, you guys are still actors, and you have done more than Power Rangers. one by one, what is something that you're working on now, and where can we find you on social media? I'm gonna start with Miss Barbara.
Okay, well, I just finished something, a video game called Bug Snacks. I play Clumber Nut, and that's one of the games. I'm doing a lot of other games. I just did a DreamWorks movie playing a woman, a voice, voice, that will be out next year called Bad Guys, with some wonderful actors. And Disgaea, another character from a video game, lots of video games, and should know all of my work. I've been lucky. I've been remotely working a lot in my closet, doing
great.
a lot of voice work. Yeah. So there's that. There's another one that I can't remember. Disgaea, blah, 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 blah. Some Disney. Oh yeah, Clone Wars. I did Mother Talzin again
Yes.
for something else recently.
I did not know that.
Legos. Yeah, you didn't know I was her. Yeah, there's a bunch. So
Great.
still doing them. They keep showing up after like 20 years. World of Warcraft, Lady Vosh. I've just redone her for Blizzard. So I'm lucky. I feel very, very blessed that I'm still working in my closet.
Mr. Kerrigan, what are you working on right now?
I got, I'm trying to find another tennis partner so I can play more tennis. I have 2 screenplays that were very, one's a big monster tentpole based on a MotoGP platform, a coming of age story. And
great script.
And thank you. And a Depression era family film that is a very decent budget and female narrative driven. And that's called Screenland, and it was right on top of getting into the right hands, and this thing hit and everything stopped. So I'm kind of on.
That's got to be made.
Pins and needles right now, hoping that we get out of this mess, because I think Screenland will be made. And as much as I would like not to necessarily see it on Hallmark, I think Hallmark would grab it right now, but I hate to see the commercials. You know, naturally I want to see it on the big screen, but I think it's probably realistically a streaming film. So, you know, I go back into these scripts every so often, and you make sure they're as tight as you think they are, and I still will make little tweaks. It gets crazy. And then I have a TV show that I wrote and 10 episodes, and that's all stopped too. So I'm just, biding my time. Oh, and I got a regular role on the Alvin and the Chipmunk show on Nickelodeon, or recurring, I should say, Coach Dobkins. So I go down to Montecito to shoot that with Janice. Janice and Ross Bagdasarian actually make that entire cartoon out of their lovely 30,000 square foot mansion in Montecito. The only thing that's out that is done out of house is the animation itself out of India, but the entire show is made in that house.
Absolutely. Miss Diane, what are you working on right now? Earlier you said you were writing a novel.
I am, but I'm so happy. I just got this 2 days ago. I'm going to be doing a movie called Things Like This, which is a gay rom-com in New York City with Eric Roberts and Diane Cannon.
Wow.
And but the novel I'm writing, I describe it as modern day meets Game of Thrones. And it's about Joan of Arc.
Oh, sweet.
And I go to France 3 months at a time to do research. So I can't wait to go back.
Nice.
Mr. Vernon Wells, what are you working on currently?
My manager just signed 3 films yesterday.
Oh, that's great.
Doing a thing called, the reason I was late this morning, which they don't know, but you do, was because I was doing a table read for Southern Hard, which is a film I'm doing, which is very apropos to it's a white man and a black woman trapped in a cave. And he has treated her like crap all her life and doesn't realize he's in there with her until they confront each other, which is kind of apropos for what's going on today. And then because I can't help myself, 2 days ago, this arrived in the mail, Best Actor Award for a film I did called Fear of the Woods.
Nice.
What's the movie called?
So things are going, I can't complain. I have worked more since the pandemic. I've done 6 films since the pandemic started. It's ridiculous.
Vernon, what's the movie called that you got the award for?
Oh, it's called Fear of the Woods.
Fear of the Woods?
Fear of the Woods. It's actually the guy I worked with on another film, a director, he's Swedish. He rang me up and said, I'm trying to put together this horror film that's actually set in Alaska, but I want to shoot it in Sweden because it's in the snow. And I want you to come over and do it. But we can't do the whole film. We're only doing the first 20 minutes is what you're in because you get killed by the protagonist, which is a 10-foot Kodiak bear. And those more as a proof of concept because of the bear and the whole bit. And I went over and we shot this piece and they did the whole thing. When they edited it and put the special effects on, it turned out to be so good, they put it into 37 festivals. They've so far won 9 Best Actor, 12 Best Film, and I'm won 2 Best Actor awards for it. So
Can we see it somewhere?
it's online. It's on, if you just put in Fear of the Woods, it'll come up. It's online.
Okay, okay. Good to know.
It's the photography and everything in it is brilliant. The 2 guys that I work with, a young man that plays my son, an older gentleman that plays my brother, there's only 3 of us in the film, are absolutely unbelievable actors. They're Swedish and absolutely brilliant. And the cinematographers won Best Cinematographer 5 years in a row. And he's just absolutely, the cinematography is stunning. It's all shot. I spent 4 days freezing off parts of my body that I thought maybe I wanted to use again someday. It was cold. Minus degrees. It was, and I was being dragged around in the snow. It was. But
I have to get a plug. I'm running out of battery.
I'm just fortunate. I'm not just fortunate. I'm just blessed that I keep working. That's the way it is, I guess, sometimes. And I'm going to take it while I can get it, goddammit. And it's a lot of it's from home. I've done 1 film from home. I've been asked to do a film called Electric Man, which I'll be shooting all of my scenes exactly like I'm talking to you onto my computer, except I'll have the director on another computer on Zoom telling me what to do.
Wow, that's cool.
It's just amazing how they adapt. You know, like the film industry and the filmmakers have adapted to the fact that they can't have big sets with lots of people on them. They've adapted to another way and getting some really good stuff out there.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Miss Hilary Shepard, what are you working on right now?
Hey, well, I have a movie. I have a bunch of movies on Lifetime right now. One is called Husband for Christmas. It was just on. It's going to be on, I think, all till Christmas. And then I have a series called The Wrong Babysitter, The Wrong Neighbor, I just shot another one of those. And there's about 10 those or more that I'm in with Eric and Vivica Fox. And we play all different sorts of parts. But it's always a different story too. So that's been really fun. And then my best friend, who is Daryl Hannah, who was, she still is an actress. She was in Splash and Kill Bill. She and I developed this TV show based on my mother. My mother was named Judy, and it's called Judaisms. And it was just about to go when the pandemic hit. So now we just have a little Instagram until that gets going. Peter Farrelly, who did, the Dumb and Dumber, he's helping us with it, and he's been really great. So that Instagram is called Judaisms.NoOffense. So if you just want to get a little taste of it, but we'll have a full-blown TV show soon, I hope. I don't know when. We wrote all the episodes and everything, so we'll see what happens.
Good for you.
Mr. Volok, what can we expect from you going on right now?
Well, I've been doing a couple of the voice jobs. One is for the Boondocks. It's animation, and for some reason they offered me to play a role of Vladimir Putin. They probably got inspired by Master Org. I don't know. And then another one, it's from Netflix. It's called Agent King. That's I'm about to do. And also, and there is also, I've been doing it ongoing. There's a video game, Payday 2. So there's that, that it's also the voice thing. And on screen, I'm about to do it's an independent film. It's scheduled to go up in December. It's called The Balloon Animal. So this, and I feel like right now it's just started opening up with all the, the industry little by little. So there's been several, requests to do a self-tape for like TV shows and all that stuff. So I think it feels like it's coming back just for the amount of the auditions that are coming up. So anyway, but this industry, as we all know, unpredictable. So you could be busy and nobody else is busy, or the vice versa, or there is no rhyme or reason, I guess, to this. Anyway, but besides that, for me, it's always staying creative, and I'm working on a couple of actually on 2 theater projects, theater plays, and when it's all done with the corona and all, we're gonna put up a couple of plays as well. So
anyway. Are you writing them? Are you writing them?
Actually, one it's a co-written with the playwright William Manus, who we worked together on my one-man show a couple of years ago. So we co-wrote this 2-character play, me and another African-American actor. So that'll be interesting. We actually rehearsed, we actually meeting and reading, and we're hoping to put it up sometime in May or June, where because right now Broadway, I think they adjust to Broadway as far as the theater concerned. So Broadway is shut down officially until end of May or end of April. So all the theater is shut down. Anyway, so but the work never stops. I mean, it's creative work. We besides the paying gigs, which are thankfully coming, but also for me, I always work on something creative, or we actually me and another friend of mine from the Actors Studio, we've been working on this play Red, I know, by David Logan, I believe. Yeah, it's about the painter Rothko. Anyway, so we're working on that, and we're filming that just as an experiment. So anyway, so creative project, creative process never stops for me.
Absolutely.
Anyway.
Miss Melody.
I just forgot something. I just want to quickly say Alien Christmas is starting November 30th on Netflix. It's a cartoon movie for kids, Alien Christmas. That's it.
Great. Thank you.
Miss Melody, what are some things you're working on right now?
So I actually it's like I love hearing all of these updates. I miss acting so much. It makes me want to dive back in. I actually work behind the scenes now in public media for an economic news program. So it's got a little bit of
Wow.
creativity. Yeah, so I do a little bit of voiceover for them as well because we're broadcast and on demand and video. So just a tiny bit of creativity, but I really miss acting. It's so great to hear that you all are still so proactive and you're just so inspired.
And how the economic news? How the economic news? Are we screwed?
Well, we know
We
that,
don't
but
make
where's
predictions.
your show? Where can we hear your show?
The show is actually so if you hear NPR or Morning Edition, so it's the show is called Marketplace. I think
you're kidding.
Here with Carl
I really, always listen to that. They're NPR constantly, nonstop.
Yes, yeah. So they have a really amazing mission to try to just raise the economic intelligence of the country as well as younger people, so that we can make better decisions, hopefully going forward as a country. So I really support that. Yeah,
that's very important.
It's strange. It's like a double life because, in space, astronomy was introduced in, I think, 1998. And just now, my action figure is available for pre-order. So it's like I have this very normal behind-the-scenes life, and then there's this whole other thing churning out there. So
that's a good economic news.
Yeah.
That's right.
And Mr. Paul Freema, what are some things you're working on right now?
I'm not working on much at the moment, except I'm writing a book about jazz, which is one of my great passions. But we just finished the third and final season of Absentia, which is a series I've been doing on Amazon Prime for the last 3 years. Just got that in before the pandemic started in December. We finished.
Paul, what's the name of that?
Absentia. And next year, there's a series starting over here, a TV series called Murder in Provence. You might be in this, Diane, if you're there.
Oh my God, I'd love
Murder
it.
in Provence, it sounds good, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
You're right. So that Absentia is going on now on Amazon Prime, and that's it.
Absolutely. Before we go, we want to shout out some of our favorite fan groups. 5D Blogger Podcast, at Limos Designs, at Power Ranger Brazil, at Power Rangers HQ, at Tokyo V Joe, at Power Rangers Universe, at The Violet Rangers, at The Crystal Ranger, at Superpower Sentai Rangers, at Rangers Girls, and also at the Ranger Project LATM. Another thing, we definitely want to shout out to one of our top villains. We've mentioned him on this panel a couple of times, Mr. Robert Axelrod. He definitely is missed. I got to meet him once in Alabama at a convention, and he was just such a joy to be around and to just like, this is Lord Zed. And at first I was shy. I was like, oh my God, that's Lord Zed. Nightmares. So we just want to definitely shout him out. And one thing, everybody that's been watching, we got people from Argentina, Mexico, Canada, the UK, Pennsylvania, Oregon, Oklahoma City, Mexico, again, Portland, San Jose, Hawaii, Kentucky, Mississippi, North Carolina, Illinois, California, and my home state of Alabama, and Power Rangers fans everywhere. We want to thank all of you guys for being here with us. Thank you for giving the opportunity to moderate, and we'll see you guys later. Hopefully conventions will come back soon and we can see you guys in person.
Thank you.
Yay, thank you, everybody.
Bye.
All right, y'all have a good evening.
Thank you.
Bye.
Stay safe, everyone.
Nice seeing you all.
Bye.
Thank you. Pleasure. Take care, guys. Thank you.